Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, based on where you're tuning in from, and welcome this afternoon in Kenya. It's an afternoon to this wonderful webinar themed Making Your Mark as a Leader. So I like this quote by Maya Angelou that says, if you're going to leave a legacy, make a mark on the world that cannot be erased. And that is what we are here to discuss this afternoon. So I am Edda Munyi, Director Executive Education, Strathmore Business School, and I'll be your host and your moderator for this afternoon. So in case you have any question, any contribution that you'd like to make, please use the chat function, the question and answer function that is on the Zoom, and we'll be able to take up those questions and discuss. So I would like to welcome Nancy just to share with us a little bit about who Strathmore is. And as she comes on board, it will be interesting to see who is on the call. So put your name on the chat and where you're calling us from and your expectation for this afternoon. So welcome, Nancy. Let us put our names in the chat and where we are calling from.
Just speaking briefly about who Strathmore Business School is, what is our brand, what is our vision and mission, and a few more details on what we, where our journey has been from. So our vision, mission, and our values, just as projected, our mission is service to society through developing virtuous leaders by providing world-class executive management education in a local setting. Our vision is to be the premier business school in Africa with international repute, and our core values are wisdom, excellence, and trailblazing. We have not reached here by working alone, but we have very strong education partners who have worked with us in this journey. We have the Yese Business School, which has been ranked about thrice by Financial Times as top in executive education. We have worked with Cranfield University, Nanyang Business School. We're working with Yale University, and we are partners and associated with the Association of African Business School and many other partners that are not here. Strathmore Business School started in 2005. And throughout, we have grown to many regions. In East Africa, we have a physical presence and office in Uganda, in Tanzania, and in Rwanda. Virtual presence, we have done so much in South Africa, in West Africa, even the islands of Mauritius. And now with COVID, I think even the list can be more than what is projected here. What are the departments within the business school? We have the research hubs, and within research, we have done a lot within the healthcare department, within public policy, data science, strategy and leadership, and entrepreneurship. Within the academic programs, we have a number of programs. We have the PhD in business and management. We have the MBA for executives, MBA in healthcare management, public policy, development science, commerce, agribusiness management, and many, many others. And these are just programs within the business school. There's so many other programs within the whole university that are not indicated here. Others in the law school, there's the Masters in Data Science, which was actually launched this week, and so many other programs within the whole university. The other department is the executive education programs. And under executive education, we have the leadership programs. We have programs in corporate governance. We have a lot that we're doing in the space of coaching and training, public policy executive programs, healthcare programs, sustainability, data science analytics, entrepreneurship, and custom solutions, where companies tell us, we want something specific for us. And so we're able to do that within the executive education department. In relation to our topic of today, we have a number of leadership programs that range all the way from new managers to the Global CEO Africa program. Our programs just have various ranges. In between, we have the Women in Leadership program, we have the senior management. We're able to just share more at a different setting. But if you look, we also have the corporate governance and many other areas which we are able to expound on interest. Few housekeeping guidelines. The EDA has indicated we will be using a lot of the chat interactions, which we encourage us to chat any questions, comments you may have on the chat sections. Raise your hand at the end if you want to ask any questions during the question and answer session. Just to mention that this webinar will be recorded and the recording will be available and will be shared with you. I'd like to welcome you to this session. If you want to get in touch and know more about the details that you have, there is my email. You can get in touch with me. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Much appreciated. I see we already have questions, so it's promising to be a very engaging session this afternoon. We're already having participants putting in their questions. So I'd want to welcome Dr. Jenga, who is the Executive Dean, Strathmore Business School, to share with us his opening remarks. Karibu, Dr. Jenga.
Thank you very much, Eda, and all the team there at the Executive Education Department. Greetings to my colleagues here, Anna, Adil, Amos, and I noticed that I have a lot of people out there listening to this today. Leadership. I'd like to make a few points on leadership. You may or you may not agree to it, but there is something about the word legacy that Eda mentioned. You see, if you don't have anything to offer, then you're not a leader. You have to have something to offer. What do you offer? Do you offer a new marketing tool? Do you offer a new innovation in engineering in civil engineering to build houses better, to make them cheaper? Something new that transforms people's lives. Something new that enables people to live a happier life. Something new that enables people fulfill their dreams every day, to solve their problems. Lately, you have seen how Safaricom has transformed the society since 2000. When I look at where we were with only 500,000 telephone booths in our houses, which did not work, well, I don't know how we can compare to before 2000 and now. It's crazy. We didn't have banks that had more than 1 million customers in Kenya in total. Thanks to new ideas like how to get to the community, Equity Bank, Kenya Commercial Bank. Now I see every bank is trying to understand the ordinary mwananchi or the ordinary citizen in the country. We have transformed things significantly. There were people behind these things. There were significant people behind these things. They had something to offer. Then the second question about a leader is who or how many are you going to transform with your idea? Now, again, that's not something you know about at all. Sometimes in the way we think of our problems, we rarely understand the impact something will have on others. And again, to make it very simple, let me just use this simple idea of telecommunication, cell phone technology. Who thought in 2001 that it would be one of the most important communicators of money, that it would be one of the most important communicators of digital information, that it would be one of the most important things in digital agriculture, that it would be one of the most important things in bringing cash for business development, electricity. Who thought that because of this, we would connect to electricity through what do they call these buttons you put in your house to buy electricity through tokens? All that came because of the idea. And by the way, do you remember that? And I say this because I'd like it to reach everybody, and it's something everybody can understand. Do you remember that the first budget of Safaricom in 2000 and 2001 was 500,000 customers in 5 years? They did not know how many people they were going to affect. Safaricom got 500,000 customers within the first 6 months of the operation. So you become a leader over time, not because you have set out to make a legacy, but rather because of the importance of what you have to offer society. Then the other thing that is very important is how lasting is your solution? Is your solution going to be an ephemeral one? Okay. Now, even that is important. It is very important. Let me put it this way. There are some guys who are very good at offering a very ephemeral, wide scale, powerful effect like a perfume, okay, or like a jacket, or like a fashion, something of fashion. But is it a Kepinski? That is a deal popper there. We suddenly put up Kepinski, and suddenly we had an incredible transformation in the hospitality industry. And that is not to name the other 5 or 6 or 7 that he has behind the scenes, the ones that he's investing. How long-lasting is your effect on society when you bring about a solution? Because if it is short-lived, then your leadership is short-lived and your legacy is gone, like, you know, the smoke of one of these things we throw up when we are celebrating Eid or the Feast of Lights. It flares up, it's beautiful, but it's gone. It's gone. Great leaders tend to have very long-lasting effects. And sometimes it's not a product or a service. Sometimes it's giving your lives, like the founders of the nation, like those who drafted a constitution, like those who are going to find out solutions to our crisis in medicine, like those who spoke at the right time to overcome the bad problems that we had, or the weak problems. Then I'll now say some things that you know already, but I think are very important. You need, if you're a great leader, you need to be hidden in many people. Probably you don't realize that, but many leaders who transform nations and peoples and transform lives, you rarely see them. They're hidden. They work with people. Now, I know you'll tell me Tiger Woods is a great leader because he plays golf very well. Or all those other Maradonas, and I forget all their names right now because I'm in front of you, forgive me. But I'm sure each one of you can name certain football players that are incredible, fantastic. They are seen. Well, people like Microsoft and people like the Amazon Web Services, you rarely see the leaders behind. They are hidden. And because they are hidden, they work with many people. They are not overbearing. They are actually a piece within a chain of reactions, and they're the ones who foster that reaction. I often notice that in our society today, we want to shine up front. We want a big car. We want a big house. We want to make noise that we are leaders. We want to show power. We want to demonstrate that we can affect many lives. We want to throw out money like a good politician to every person who would like to vote for us. Great leaders are hidden, and their effect is positive, not negative, though they are leaders who produce significant, long-lasting, negative returns to society. Now, having finished that, and because of what the team here wants to put across, which is which leaders will come in to break barriers, let's have it very clear in mind. If I am to summarize everything, it's hidden, hard work. It is hidden, hard sought visions. It is many hours of sacrifice. It is many hours of thinking we are not useful. It's many hours of failure. Reduce the failure and the hard work and the sweat by putting together a team of people who will enjoy shining when the thing is done. This is very, very important. How many people are working with you so that when you're gone, you may leave somebody behind. I often say in summary for this, that the greatest legacy you leave is your child, because he or she will be the stamp of your work. It's not a building, it's not a product, it's not a service, it's people. It's a person. Even one, you're a great person. Even one. If it is one you have changed and you have transformed, and who will transform society. The second thing I'd like to say is all those things require a lot of self-training and knowing and humility to listen and to understand and to change yourself. Formation. And I think that's why we have decided in Strathmore to set the Strathmore Executive magazine, the business magazine that we are going to start putting across, thanks to our students, thanks to our faculty who want to bring out new ideas to society, not just to publish, but to give ideas that will transform our business industry and our communities. There is one on how do we transform the poultry value chain in Kenya. I don't think it's in the current magazine, but it is soon going to come out to you, and you'll be amazed about the issues of publishing the right information so that people can get wisdom. So the team in marketing, Sheila and Shelly, Shailja Sharma, and all the team there, thank you very much for doing that. So my opening remarks are about the need for this kind of leaders. Less noisy, very hard at work, transforming their society, breaking barriers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jenga. Indeed, words of wisdom of the kind of leaders that we are looking forward to having in this continent that can break barriers. So we have a very distinguished panel this afternoon to just go a little bit deeper into what Dr. Jenga has shared. And he is with us throughout the session, so feel free to put in your questions in case you have them. So I want to introduce to you the panel this afternoon, and I want to start with Anna Shanaligiwa, who is the Acting Managing Director, Private Agricultural Sector Support Trust in Tanzania. Anna, you can say hi, you can wave. There is Anna, all the way from Tanzania. We have Mr. Hi, sorry. Then we have Mr. Adil Popat, who is the Executive Chair, Simba Corporation, which is a diversified group in motor vehicle distribution, hospitality. I think Dr. Jenga mentioned Kempinski, real estate, and financial services. So welcome, Mr. Popat. Okay. Then we have Mr. Wangora, who is the CEO of Kentrade, whose main goal for Kentrade is to facilitate trade by simplifying and harmonizing processes for Kenya's global competitiveness. So as we look at positioning Kenya, and indeed many other countries in Africa for global competitiveness, he's one of the people who are leading in that. So I want to welcome Mr. Wangora to make your reactions to Dr. Jenga's speech this afternoon.
Thank you, Eda, and thank you, Dr. Njenga, for those profound remarks. As you heard, my name is Amos Wangora. I'm the CEO of the Kenya Trade Network Agency. We are in the digital space on behalf of government. We have implemented automation of port and trade processes. Obviously, as a recognition that it is necessary that we simplify how we trade. That is the only way we can be competitive, that we can allow imports and exports into and out of the country to move with speed, which impacts the price, of goods on the shelf. I entirely agree, and I think I'll just pick up on one point that Dr. Njenga made, that to be great leaders, they have to be hidden. I think there are many leaders behind the scenes who are not seen, but they are the vision carriers. When you look at some of the biggest transformations, you probably are not even aware of the people who are behind them. Let me use an example of the bigger vision we had when we started the single window system in the country and all these automation programs, was that we eventually transform the ports and the maritime sector into a paperless environment. Now, paperless meaning that all the documentation and hard copies that have been used over time, whether it's payments, having to walk to banks to make payments for those goods, that all that is entirely done from the comfort of your office. And I think when you look at where we are today and where we started, just looking at the 2000s, where it was a very rudimentary process. And we are at probably about 90% in terms of achieving that goal. And in the next probably 1 year or so, we will be paperless in quite a number of the areas. There have been people behind all this. There are people who thought this through. There are people who imagined, people who benchmarked and borrowed. We know of Singapore. Singapore achieved that quite a number of years ago. The Singapore port, which is paperless, you can actually get your goods out within 2 hours, was thinking by people who were not seen. Yes, we are aware that Lee Kuan Yew was a visible part of that dream, but there were numerous others who were imagining what is possible, and that for their posterity as a country, then they needed to be able to work behind the scenes. Now, same thing in Kenya, the single window, the first person, we initially sat in meetings on the port community system and single window system in 1989. I mean, you're talking of 30, 40 years back, to achieve a dream that is now coming true 40 years later. Now, there are people who have sat in meetings, have eventually left the scene and been able to hand over that baton to others to achieve it. So yes, I agree entirely. There has to be those vision carriers, but largely they are always in the background. They are not seen. But of course, then it is possible, as long as there are people who are ready to work hard, are ready to put in the time, then it is possible for that transformation to happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wangora. Anna, welcome to make your response to Dr. Jenga's words.
Thank you, Eda. As you've said, my name is Anna Shalingigwa. I'm now the Acting Managing Director for Private Agriculture Sector Support in Tanzania. Yes, it is very, very true that when you see a product, when you see a leader, there are so many visionaries behind that. And looking at myself, I think I see myself as a product of so many people that have been there pushing and work on me. You have people who identify talents and they nurture the talent and make the leaders out of it. And they carry that vision for others. So coming to us as agriculture sector support unit, what do? We actually de-risk the agriculture sector by providing confidence to banks or support that they can lend to agriculture business in Tanzania. We do credit guarantee, and we offer 20 up to 80% of the credit guarantee to our clients to de-risk agriculture, making agriculture as a business rather than the way it is now, how it has been perceived as agriculture is just for family consumption or kind of. So we want to take it further to make it that agriculture is actually a business. It is not just for family consumption, but it is a business. So I do agree with Mr. Jenga that when you look at the people who are seen, it is because there are others who have put effort, who carries the vision of that person. Working in different organizations, myself, for private, parastatals, and non-government organization, I am who I am today because of the mentors, the coaches, the supervisors who saw something in me and helped me to get where I am. And it is not that you wake up one day and get where you are, but it is that effort, that hard working that one can put to achieve what you want to achieve in life. It's all about setting the goals and work toward that goals. Put the effort and listen to the coach, to the mentors, setting the examples. It's all about what you do rather than what you know. So I do agree with Mr. Jenga that in this world, it's all about legacy. And the legacy is about creating that story, the story that you want people to read on you. The day-to-day living, the way you live it is actually you're creating that story that somebody can read it, somebody can listen about the future. If you create the world that you want to live in, if you believe in peace and harmony, you do the peace and harmony yourself, and then people will read it from you. You're like a letter. As a leader, you should be the example. You should work toward what you believe in and not what you know. That's what I can say about acting or living the legacy as a leader in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. Welcome, Mr. Popat, to make your response.
Thank you, everybody that's attending the webinar. Thank you, Dr. Jenga, for your very interesting and wise words. I will follow your lead by talking about our experience through your words, but I'll start on the other side, where we talked about breaking barriers. I think hard work is one of the fundamentals that we have always used to create anything, whether it's sustainable or not. Hard work is the most important ingredient in good leadership. What does that mean? That does not mean that you work 18 hours a day. It means you think 18 hours a day. You think through your things, you go home, things in your mind, and you're trying to create. And I think that for me is the hard work that you create. The other thing, of course, is sacrifice. A lot of us that have got to where we are today have sacrificed time spent with our children, with our wives, with our families. This is real sacrifice. This is sacrifice that you give up because you're creating something very special, at least for yourself and for your stakeholders. The vision comes from an ability to see well ahead of where you are in the world. And in our case, for me, the vision started in 2007 when I took over as CEO of Simba. Okay, I sat down and I said, what do we want this thing to happen? What am I lacking? What are the things that I need to create something better? It was already a good business, but how do we create and make it better? And how do we change things in a way that really has a positive impact in the world? So I think those are the kind of things that really are breaking of barriers. We failed many times. We failed constantly, and we continue to fail. There are so many businesses we got into which we failed, but without trying, we cannot succeed. So failure is part of the process of success. People has been really fundamental to Simba. When I took over in 2007, the first thing we did was a skills audit. Do we have the right people on the ground with the right attitudes, with the right philosophy to develop the vision that we were creating? And I think that was critical for us, where we created a skill set and say, right, we're missing A, B, C, D. Remember, every business has got its own life. You're a certain size, your vision reflects the size that you are, but reflects to where you want to go. And I think that's very important. And you got to think big, because if you think small, you stay small. You cannot be big if you don't think big. And I think this is really important in your vision. So you then develop to say, I need to go there. And then you create the milestones that take you there. This is extremely important. In our case, I was really fortunate that I had the ability to attract people to the business, and we transformed the business completely. And I think this is really important. And this is where Dr. Jenga's words of people is very important. The hidden person, the person who has the most impact for me was my father, because he created, and in his legacy, we are creating better and better company going forward, affecting people in a very positive manner. This morning, we had a launch of our new vehicle that we've launched called the Saga, the Proton Saga. It's the first CKD, fully manufactured or assembled vehicle in Kenya in 25 years. It's a game changer, and it'll affect both the people who buy and the people who make and the people who take the taxes on it in a very positive way. So I think this is really where the legacy comes in. In addition to that, for us, legacy is how do you give back? Okay, and there got to be a program in which your legacy is given in a formal and an effective way. And we've created a foundation called Simba Foundation. And we are creating a plan for Simba Foundation where a percentage of your profit goes back into the foundation that then gives back to your society and your stakeholders. This is something private sector has to do constantly and in a very organized manner. And I think for me, legacy stands there. How do you sustain this? This is something that you need to create in a formal way. Whether Adil Popat is there or not is irrelevant. So what we've done is we've created a governance structure in which tomorrow, if I'm not around, I get hit by a bus or by one of my cars, right? We will continue and we will survive. This is critical for us. We always give too much importance to ourselves. And if you look at government officials, and the Tanzanians know about it, the Ugandans know about it, and the Kenyans know about it, right? Every government official is just too important for his own boots. Rather than saying, what do I do to facilitate, to make the pie bigger? And I think this is very important. Don't give yourself too much importance. Create the importance out of the institution that you have developed. And I think for me, Dr. Jenga, this is my little uptake on your very wise words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Popat. And I want to just go back a little bit, Mr. Popat, on what you have said, because you mentioned that there has been failures. What lessons have you learned through the failures, and how did you still keep going on? You know, it's been 14 years since you took the business. You mentioned failure, but you have kept going on. What has kept you?
I have one philosophy that if you're an entrepreneur, you are going to fail for sure. Whether you fail in a business, you fail in a project, or you fail in any other small aspect of the business. You fail, you stand up, and you try and do it again. I think the way that we look at failure is something that is bad. It's exactly the opposite. Failure is a good thing because it makes you better as long as you take it in the right spirit. And whenever we fail, we've said, all right, we didn't do well, right? We're in a business. We're in businesses that we want to expand. So we're going to try new things, right? It's like the bicycle. When you get on a bicycle, every time you get on a bicycle, normally when you're young, you fall down, right? Or if you are surfing on the sea, right? I've tried surfing and every time I did it, I fell down, right? But I gave up. In business, I don't give up. And I think that is critical. And that's where the hard work and the commitment and the sacrifice comes in. You just pick yourself up and you move on. And then slowly you will come to one or two businesses which will then really prosper. And then you build that foundation. Building foundation for businesses is fundamental, and failure is part of that structure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Popat. I see the questions are quite many in the chat and we will get to them. Anna, we are about to celebrate the International Women's Day. As a woman in leadership, what barriers have you encountered? We have heard of the proverbial glass ceiling. Does it exist? Have you encountered it? And what have you done to break that barrier?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, as a woman in leadership, there are so many invisible barriers that one has to go through. And I think the most important one, or the one that is highly affecting women, is the cultural bias. In our society, women are looked at people who are just supposed to stay home and their places in the kitchen. So you're not given an opportunity, or you're given an opportunity, but people are like putting you in a trial or testing. So for you to be in a position that a man can freely get it, you have to be hard worker. You have to work hard. You have to work more than a man to get to a position. So in my life, I think I've been through that. I've been working with men. I've been working with men who believe that women cannot lead, women cannot be supervised, or they cannot be supervised by women. And you get a lot of pushback. You get a lot of, you don't get support from the people that you work with, especially like maybe your peers. But it is the leaders, the corporate leaders, who can break that barrier. And that exactly happened to me. My supervisors in all the 9 organizations that I've worked with, for my 19 years of experience, I worked in 9 organizations. Out of all those 9 supervisors, 7 of them were so much supportive. And they were supportive in a sense that because maybe I was open as well. One of the things that caused us women, we tend to shy away, and sometimes we are not open to our problems. But for me, it has been different. When I first get a job somewhere, the first thing that I mentioned in that organization, that I have my priority. And the priority for me is first the family and second work. So I am not like an 8 to 5 person, but I do deliver what you want me to deliver. And all those women, all of those supervisors were very supportive. But also as an individual, you have to set a supporting mechanism to help you. Because at the end of the day, you are a mother, you are a wife, you are expected to do something. You are a woman in the community. So you have to put a support mechanism that will help you so that you can focus on your work. So I did that. I remember at some point I used to spend like 90% of my salary for the support of other things that I'm not doing at home. But it's only the corporate leaders that can help these women to break that ceiling. And I've seen it happens a lot with the women supporting women, but also if you get this support from men, it is even better, because all the people, all the societies around will support that one man who supports you. So it is not that easy. It is unfortunately how it is, but it is the perception, it's how you take it as a woman. Do you take it as a pushback? Do you take it as a challenge? Because some of us challenge actually push us to do more. Challenges push us, we want actually to prove a point. When somebody say that, this one, she cannot do this, I will work so hard day and night to make sure that I prove a point that I can do it. Because I know for sure by doing that, I will pull up so many more who are behind me, who are looking at me as their role model. So for those who have already made it to the corporate level to be leaders, we need to put the environment that supports women to get to where they want to be. We need to support them. We need to encourage them. We need to mentor them so that they can be, they can reach their objectives. So as a young, especially for young women, we really have to have a goal. You have to set up a goal. You have to have a dream and hold on to your dreams no matter what. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Dr. Zenga, I want to come to you. And Anna has mentioned a couple of things about women in leadership. And 2021 is an interesting year. We have a woman leading World Trade Organization. We have a woman in White House and many other places. Do we have the right support system, as Anna is saying, to support these women to lead? Because the leadership space has been very male dominated. Do we have it right?
You're absolutely right that we have half the world unable to rise to the challenges of society. I philosophically have problems with the way I've framed that statement, but I think I need to frame it that way. And why do I have a problem? Because the greatest legacy is about family. Of all the things you leave behind, it's your family. And when you look at your family, you look at mother. How much time did she spend on you? How much time did she take to educate your virtue, your character, your formation? How well did she demonstrate humility in acquiescing to the leadership struggles between a husband and a wife, daddy and mommy? Because sometimes we may have this feeling that leaders are created or built or formed outside the family. I'm a firm believer from the research I have done that the family is a very core issue. Now, what's the issue? The issue is exactly what Anna has just said, that somehow this work can be done together with other work, like being a leader of an organization, by being a great scientist, by being a great farmer. So what has been the barrier? The barrier has been how we have approached women leadership from the perspective of leave the kitchen, leave the home, leave your husband's demands, and come to the CEO and to the professional world. I think that's just so wrong. Okay. It's just so wrong. And we risk as a society to destroy precisely the foundations of society, which is good family. And mother plays a very fundamental part of that. However, I was among the first to set up the first Women in Boards Leadership Center at Strathmore University. I was the first one to put research people in a very big way in the university sector. Well, first, I don't think that is right, but I think I have invested a significant amount, or rather we have invested significant amounts in Strathmore to develop the women's centers of leadership. And what did we find? Exactly what Anna is saying. She invested 90% of her salary in trying to get what was mundane done by other people. This released her hands and her mind to concentrate on the formation of her child and the formation of the organization, the development of people in the organization. Okay. So there has been a glass ceiling because of traditional thinking that women cannot lead, which I just think, again, is so wrong. the greatest leaders behind the greatest leaders are women. And the second thing is, don't destroy the foundations of society, family, on the pretext that we are taking women to leadership. Sustain the family. I don't know just how much I can preach this to the four winds. It doesn't mean that a mother cannot be a good mother because she's a CEO. Work around her. Organizations have to transform themselves to understand that somehow they have to support mother. And she has said something very simple, which has been proven by research. She says, I'm not an 8 to 5 person. That's very important. And I work, in fact, my entire leadership team, 70% is women. And the first thing I tell them is, you're not an 8 to 5. And whenever there is a problem at home and you need that child sorted out, walk to your house and get that thing done now. And don't tell me later. Okay. Because I need it. Now, should men stop being men and take the role of women in the home? Again, I think that is wrong. Okay. For the simple reason that I believe our physical structure and our mind and our psychology are made for different things, all right? And that's the reality. I don't need to go deep into that philosophical approach to life, but I think you can take it for whatever it means to you. I just think that we have to stop thinking that our women cannot be leaders. As men, we have to be happy when our women take leadership. Our women, our partners, our collaborators in transforming this world. We have to get rid of this mind we have of thinking that a woman cannot order me, or a woman doesn't have the brains to give me an idea about what to do, or, which is most stupid of all, that she cannot be a partner to walk with me and pull this weight behind. Okay, that's ridiculous. And I think we have a lot of work as men to get rid of that. Then probably the weaknesses of a woman, which we often see as peculiar to a woman, her emotionalism, her tendency to like without reason, that we men sometimes see. Why is she so emotional about that? You know what we say. And the women on the other side say, why is he so lacking in emotional intelligence? So men don't see their weakness, women don't see their weakness. But we both have weaknesses. And the point is, it's not a matter of pointing a finger. I come to the last point. It's a matter of solving the problem by coaching, by modeling, by strengthening, by being tough. Sometimes we cannot say that, because you're a woman, I cannot correct you. No, I'll correct you. And I'll correct you in a tough way and make sure that you do what you have to do right, but with a lot of love, because correction sometimes is painful. But now let me go to this last point, which is the one that I think is very, very important. So what do women lead in? And this is something, again, I've thought through quite a bit. I hope one day I'll write about it, and have looked at a lot of research papers like For Love or For Money, written to discuss the content and context of women in leadership. And I have an issue. Let's take leadership, for instance, of political societies. How often do our political leaders have a consort of women from whom to request first ideas before they even go to the public? Is it good to put this boundary here? Is it good to have this road built here? How should the road be? Is it good to start this housing scheme here? You know, it's like a father coming in and declaring things to the public. You know, we are going to build a house, we're going to invest in this, we are going to invest in it. No, first it's collaboration. Ask. See, Who should lead this part of the development of the government? Hospitals. You know more about those than anybody. We build roads without consulting, and therefore we never think of a mother who is pregnant, a mother with a child in her hand, a mother leaving her child to go onto that road. We think of hospitals as money-making institutions, not about homes where mothers go to get cured. I apologize for the noise behind me. We think of prisons. So what am I trying to put across? Cars, transportation, farming, food, healthy food. Okay, one of the things that I always say is, I wish that the Minister of Agriculture is a woman who has her head on her shoulders, because then she knows what type of food will go onto the kitchen and will feel in a healthy way and bring about healthy children. What I'm trying to put across is there is nothing in leadership that does not need the partnership and consort of a man and a woman. I've never seen any. The first thing we have to understand is that. Then the second thing we have to understand is not a matter of positions, it's a matter of getting solutions. It's a matter of getting a good way forward. Without women, we are not getting anywhere. And for you women, without men, you're not getting anywhere. So why don't we work together? And sorry, this is the last part, but it is so painful to me to feel as if there is something for men and there is something for women to lead. No, everything is for man and woman to lead. Now let us make a concert together and lead. But if we have political societies that don't understand this, then we have to change those political societies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Zeng. Very passionate about the subject. Mr. Angora, I want to come to you. You mentioned that the process or what you're working on that is manifesting right now is something that has been being worked on for over 30 years. So why does it matter for us to make our mark as a leader? If at all I'm going to be hidden, as Dr. Zenga mentioned. So why does it matter for us to make our marks as a leader?
I think it is not in those who are driving behind the scenes that are hidden, but the leadership comes out innately. That in what is being delivered is when you are able then to bring out, to know that there are leaders behind the scenes. And I think one of the challenges we probably have, and as leaders, is to make sure that we recognize that there are other leaders, that there are others actually driving that process. Now, but of course, for leaders, then it is about making sure that whatever vision they are driving towards, that they are able to explain that, or that they're able to share that, and it is well understood across the board. Now, one of the biggest challenges in government and in some of these programs that we are delivering, especially digitization, is being able to convince the principals or the resource bearers of your bigger vision. Now, and I think that is one of the biggest tenets of leadership, that you're able to sell this seamlessly, you're able to attract those kind of resources that you're seeking in order to be able to deliver your vision. So I think every leader also has to be a salesperson. They have to sell their vision, but innately it is that understanding that it may take time, but there are leaders being developed out of that entire process. So yes, it has taken long. It has taken long because by the time the whole program is understood, those who come first then are able to hand over to the next lot. I always give credence to the founder of Kentrade, the late Mr. Alex Kabuga. He had a vision that no one else had. He was able to see what we are now coming to achieve 40 years later. He walked the talk. He went without a salary for about 6 months. but turned up in the office daily to sell that program to government and sat. I mean, he used to tell me he would wake up in the morning and sit in a government office up to 5 in the evening, just waiting to see someone because he had a message. Now, but unfortunately, then such leaders pass on without being recognized. And that's why I'm saying they are those who are hidden. And that's why I was agreeing entirely that the real vision carriers are those who are hidden. So, you know, I don't know whether I'm responding to your question.
Thank you, Mr. Wangora. And I just want to take it up again from there and just back to you. So we have had this narrative of Africa rising for quite a while right now. The question is, what has been the impact of COVID on this? What opportunities and also challenges, the emerging opportunities and challenges, and how can we lead in this? And the reason why I'm asking that is because you have been pushing the narrative of digitization even before COVID happened. What has this meant, the COVID pandemic that we are going through right now?
I mean, we're all aware COVID, of course, has come with quite some challenge. But on the flip side, has driven automation and technology. Good example is for Kentrade. There are programs that we were still trying to get government to come on board. Immediately COVID happened and everyone had to work remotely. It was one of our busiest times because we then had to deliver some of those softwares that people had been unwilling to adopt. Now, so it has become a way of life. So there has been opportunities created out of the pandemic, especially for those of us who are involved in digitization. We have had to work beyond even what we used to do previously. Looking at programs like training, for example, you know, all that has had to move. We've had to come up with innovative ways of doing this. We have seen the kind of modules we are all using online, whether it's Zoom, Teams, and so on and so forth. And that everyone across the board is able to log in and use a platform. Some of the issues we used to deal with previously, such as lack of Wi-Fi, lack of equipment to log on to a platform, those are not the issues today. The issues are more on how we continue to improving these platforms. I mean, look at this forum today. We across, before COVID, we'd probably be holding this in a big theater in the business school. So just that acceptability and adoption of the new way of working has been a game changer. And especially for us, for those of us who are service providers within this sector. So it has driven change within the sector. Of course, we were putting in place these programs because they had an impact on how trade is done. So it meant that we need to get everyone on board. So that's what COVID largely has done for us, that it has pushed everyone on board. We are starting to see now those the benefits that we have envisaged, whether it's from a compliance perspective, whether it's from more seamless trading, whether it's in decision making, because all information and data is now within these platforms. So yes, I mean, it is driving change. Digitization is part of us now. It's part of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And I can see that continuing to happen as we move. The African Continental Free Trade Area, one of the bigger impediments is probably lack of information across the board, lack of integration of systems, whether it's payments, whether it's data exchanges. So essentially then digitization is what will drive some of these programs to fruition. And I think, you know, yes, I know the pandemic has been very negative, but it has been positive in some of those areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wangora. Mr. Popat, you mentioned that you have been lucky in the sense that you've been able to attract people and good people. And sometimes people leave because they don't get promoted. Maybe there is no money to promote them or there are no positions. How have you managed to maintain a good team? And how have you managed to continue motivating them even without money?
Yeah, I think as far as people and keeping people is, the first thing is the environment that we create. The work environment is extremely important. And over the last few years, we have consistently looked at that and said, are our people getting medical insurance? How difficult it is for them to effect the medical insurance? How is the working environment? Are they giving them good offices? How is the travel time to the office, and what are the problems of getting to the office? So I think that's the first thing, is making your people feel very, very comfortable. Okay, that was for me really fundamental. The other thing, of course, and I think we mentioned women recently, we decided that the makeup between men and women should be what the makeup of the population is. So we are heading towards creating a 50-50 women to men positioning there. That's critical for us, because we need those women to be there, because that then reflects the society in which we are doing business. I think this is critical. If you have an organization that's predominantly men, we won't find solutions for the society which we are serving. So I think that is very critical. As far as is motivation and keeping them on board, we have a leadership program in which our young leaders all our leaders effectively are going through training. We talk about what their needs are, what their aspirations are, etc. We have a youth program where we develop youth to come back and talk directly to the chairman and say, these are new innovative ideas. And what we send to them is, how can we do business better? You are the youth, you know technology, you know what's happening in the digital world. Tell us, the old fogies of the business, tell us how can we do it better. And that conversation is happening all the time, and we constantly pursue that. When somebody wants to leave, we want them to leave as our ambassadors. When they go to another company and they serve that company and they serve it well, they are Simba's ambassadors out there. And the surprising thing is that a lot of the people who've left Simba have turned around and come back to us. Why? Because they realize that we really care for them. And as I say, happy people is a happy business. If your people are not happy, they will not serve you well. So for us, that's been a critical part of our journey. And we articulate this in everything we do with people. We have these conversations with our people constantly. We listen to what their needs are. There are times when, the traffic situation in Nairobi was very bad, and they came and said, look, we're getting home. Some of them walk to home. Literally, they walk because they can't afford. And I said, you can't go home at 10 o'clock at night. So we changed the times. We talked about how do we help them in transport. So these are the kind of things we need to care about our people, because the biggest asset any organization has, and I think Dr. Jenga has alluded to that, is the people that you have. You've got to keep them with you as it is in your family, right? If your family is not united, you're going to have disharmony. You're going to have civil war. So you need to keep this together. And you also need to break all the silos that big businesses do. Everybody's a big boss. There are no big bosses around. We've got to work in collaboration to make sure that we can then create the outputs that we need.
Thank you so much. Care. You have really insisted on that. Anna, we are experiencing a very challenging time from the COVID situation, and a lot of African countries around even East Africa going through a lot of political issues that are going on. How do you lead during such times that are of great, sometimes, struggles, even in a country setup? Hi, Anna. Okay, I think Anna has dropped out. Mr. Wangora, what makes a good leader? What makes a good leader?
A good leader has to be able to walk the talk, and you have to be real. Integrity, if you ask me of anything that a leader needs to have, is first of all integrity. Integrity then allows a leader to make decisions, because then you have no baggage. You also have to care. You have to be you have to care for those you're working with at all times. You have to be involved in what they do. You have to understand where they're coming from. You have to be patient. You have to be tolerant. But also then self-awareness, knowing what your abilities and limits probably are. And you know, just having, you know, knowing yourself in all environments, that whatever then you get into, then you are able to, that should be able to drive the kind of decisions that you're making. I think for me, those are the key areas. Of course, it has to start with integrity. Then, you know, just self-awareness and around emotional intelligence, being sensitive to the environment, being sensitive to those you're working with. And of course, then making sure then that they see you, you know, for what you are, that there's nothing, I mean, you cannot be bipolar as a leader. You cannot be one thing and you know, people know you for another. I think that's critical. Then they're able to trust you and trust the decisions that you're making. Yeah.
Okay, so trust, care, you've repeated care. Mr. Popat had mentioned it.
Yeah.
Dr. Jenga, question for you. We are in a great crisis right now through COVID, but also most of the African countries going through uncertain times with elections and all sorts of upheavals. How do you lead in such uncertain times?
Volatile, uncertain. It's like being a ship in a storm, or having many problems come to you all of a sudden, immediately. Okay, what do you do? In vulnerable moments, in uncertain moments, in complex, very complex situations, it is time to build a team of the best minds. Okay, and it's not a matter of rowing hard against the complexities or the volatility of the environment in such a way that you try to force your ideas into things. But this thing of putting together people who are good, who are intelligent, who can give the best possible solutions to the volatility and complexity is a very fundamental issue. Why? Because no matter what, you must make a decision. And especially for leaders, they must know that the ability to make decisions, or sagacity, wisdom of making decisions in a volatile moment, choosing a direction to follow in a certain moment that is complex and very full of ambiguity. Make the decision, but don't make a decision alone. Don't be a force of physical energy with very little brain behind it. No, put the people, the right type of people behind a problem, and you probably will come up with a solution. And that requires humility. It's the gift of sagacity. One other thing that I know is that making decisions too quickly when they are urgent and important is dangerous. Okay. So if it's urgent and it is important, wait. Wait, because you are going to go very fast. Give yourself adequate time to see through the fog of uncertainty, to see through the vogue of the chaos and the dust that has been raised by the environment, and then make a decision. Even though many times that decision will not be exactly what the people may call wise, right? But make sure that the wise people make that decision. Okay, this is very, very important. Why? Because the easiest thing is to give an ephemeral answer to a deep question. If we are in the problem of COVID, well, how many people have talked about a crisis like that? If it's the problem of, I mean, you all have seen the different memes or videos of a speech made in 2005. I don't know whether it was 2005 or 15 by Obama, talking about there will be a time in 5 to 10 years when we will have a crisis of this kind of a biological context. How many times do you read a security report? Going back, I think the first one I saw was 2017 of the Joint Forces of the United States of America, saying that the future wars will be biological wars, or wars of a biological attack. Okay. How many times did we always say we know the problem that tribalism or a lack of community sensitivity in the distribution of resources will cause civil unrest? How many times do we tell our investors, our endowed people, that there is need to find ways, like a foundation, well thought out, to share the resources to make sure that people are happy? How many times do you tell a parent about not spending time with a child, and then when they are in their teenage or puberty, they're in a mess? We know. We always have warning signs of things. Nothing comes to us suddenly from nowhere, like, you know, a meteorite striking the earth and we all die and we're in a crisis. No, you can see crisis coming because we're intelligent. We can see it coming. So, in effect, the answer to that question is, and you can add amongst those wise men and women, you can add those wise people, men and women. You put them together, the wisest. And then you give them the problem, and we do the iterations and look at the best way forward. Just like any decision in a board that requires a strategic move, you have to get the numbers right or reasonably. Then I always say 2 + 2 + God. In other words, we don't know everything, and we have to be humble that we don't know everything. No. There is a certain sense of trust in the laws of nature, trust in the intelligent design and the godly grace of traveling along this journey. So why is that so important? It is 2 + 2 + God, because this last part removes fear, and it is called faith. All right. When you're under attack, when somebody attacks you, the greatest weakness is fear. Right? That is fear in the negative sense of the word, that destroys your ability to function. You become paralyzed, and therefore you give into the volatile and uncertain and complex and, you know, ambiguous situation. So there, what I would say is that do something, whatever it is, okay, in a very fast and difficult situation. Do something, try to do something, but not through fear, although I know fear drives us to do crazy stuff, but, and sometimes good stuff. So even a bad thing can somehow make us react in a positive way, although that's not to say that we should be doing bad things in order to react positively. But the fact remains that there is a certain faith one must have about a future we don't know, because the only thing we know is now, here, present. The future we don't know. But I think we can have faith and trust in the wisdom of making decisions about the future. So, point number 1, get the team together and let it be a team that can handle the situation. Solving problems with fist or money or power or energy doesn't get us anywhere. Have a vision of the end. Again, that's wisdom. People who see the end before they make their decision now. This is what the outcome ought to be, so this is the best route. Then bring people together towards that. That is, have a change management environment. It's a simple word and phrase, change environment. But what it simply means is be convincing that the decision you have made is the right decision, and be sure about your faith in the foresight you have. Because many times you may have the right decision. And I remember this, I'll finish with this little thing. One of my failures in life, and it cost us a lot of money, well, so to speak. I remember that 5 years ago, I set up a team and I went through a rigor of transforming ideas on having online learning. Okay, 5 years ago, 2015, actually, it's not even 5 years ago, it's 7 years ago, 2013. And I went through so much energy and effort to design, to bring the team together, to look at everything, and it was approved. Okay. And then just about the moment of implementation and investment, which was about, we had already spent more than 50 million at that moment. Just at the moment of investment, there was a team that suddenly came in, and for whatever reason, they blew the whole implementation process to the skies. I went back to my boss and I told him, look, I see this thing coming. We have blown away this idea. We have invested a lot. We're going to lose a lot of money. Look, I'll have plan B. I have already thought of a plan B, and this is the route to follow. But it's not public. Let's do it quietly under. Well, you know what? Though we failed the first time, and though we lost a lot of value, and I'm not, proud to say that in that case, I failed completely, because for one reason or another, I was not able to convince this other team about the importance. That resilience of Plan B is what made us react effectively in March. As soon as we were kicked out of the university because of COVID on March 12th, March 15th, we were told to physically vacate the university. By March 17th, the master's students were online. We made a decision. And I remember the decision, one of the decisions during that moment, March 16th, was let's go to Zoom. I had no idea about Zoom. Okay, no clue. All I knew is that this guy talks to this guy and this guy can communicate. Guys, what do you think? I looked at the different types that were there. I asked my ICT team, where do we go? And they said, let's go Zoom. And in 2 days, one of the master's programs was online, and in 2 weeks, the entire university was on. And I remember there were very many arguments about which system to use and which model and which examination and a million and one things. How do we train? Well, we worked our way through the problems as the COVID proceeded, as we had the public announcements, as we had the research and so on and so forth. And that was a moment I would say I really felt we were going down. What did we do with the financing? Well, the first thing we did is to safeguard. We started eating less. We saved on cash, because cash is very important for operations. Okay, you can't work without food. So you need, in a sense, a business is cash. So we started by having a design of a cash saving system, which cost us a lot of energy. I mean, some teachers taught more than 300. The average teaching hours of our lecturers were 315 hours per annum, as opposed to 180. So they doubled their teaching hours. And we said, we are not going to pay you that extra. This is to safeguard the situation. So you work double. In a situation where you have a crisis, the good things like keeping the machine running, you need to work double, okay, to have enough energy in case a big wave comes and strikes the ship. You're ready to withstand or safeguard. Do you know what? When we explained this to our staff, this is bringing together people. We told them, if we don't do this, we may not save ourselves from the volatile COVID. The staff joined and understood and gave in. And we did not we did not sack anybody in the organization. Probably we should. I don't know. But what pleases me as I sit here is I never wrote a letter kicking somebody out of my business, okay, out of the business school or out of the factories or out of the farm. In fact, we employed more people because of the need. We didn't lose the best minds. No, we employed more people. So sometimes a crisis is very good to give us a moment of inflection to go to the next level. And now, without wanting to, we are all online anyway. We are meeting here online, something that was unbelievable. Last year, I chair a company called Image Registrars. We had 82,000 people in the annual general meeting. All right, 82,000. It cost us 10% of what it normally costs to have an annual general meeting of 3,000 shareholders to 5,000 shareholders. So crisis makes us react and innovate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jenga. Anna, welcome. Just a question for you, Anna. How are you breaking barriers in your organization to ensure that people have work-life balance, that people are growing? Anna, you're on mute. Okay. I think she's not able to respond. I think we are having a bit of internet.
No.
Yes.
No, I'm back, Edda, I'm back. Thank you very much. I think for me, because what I believe in is human capital. If you want to get the best product, you really have to invest in your people. And this is what we are actually focusing on. Investing in our people, making sure that they have the right skills to perform their duties and to do their jobs. So this can come in terms of like trainings, building their capacity through trainings, but also putting enabling environment for them to work. We focus on that, trying to transform our employees so that when they wake up early in the morning, they feel like they just want to go and do the work. They want to work. So I think for women, we give them priority by ensuring that we put the environment that they can focus at work. For instance, simple things by just putting like a nursery room in the office, it encourages them and it motivates them so much that they feel that the organization cares about them, and we do care. It gives them the comfort that they can focus on work as if they have a baby who can be in the nursery room, or they can have that opportunity to do the breastfeeding, they can do that in the nursery room. So we try to put the environment that can help them to focus on their work and deliver their jobs or the product that they're supposed to deliver. But also having the open door policy, that one can just walk in an office, the supervisor, and have that conversation and talk about it, and be open. And if there's any gap that they feel like they need to fill in, they are open to discuss it with the supervisor, and we help them. But also we have invested in the values, the core values that our staff need to understand or need to know the values and live those values, because it makes a lot of sense. We as PAS, we need to identify ourselves uniquely by having the right people in place, the people who lives the values, and we believe that we have the right values. And our values are integrity, trust, relationship. So we believe that if our people lives in those values, everyone will be comfortable to come to work. They feel like our office is the safest place that they can be. They feel comfortable. They feel like it's their home, it's their second home. So that is what we do. We invest more on building the capacity of our staff, but also we digitalizing our processes. Let's make our people more efficient and efficient. So we have a program that We want by June 2021, we go paperless within the organization. So we have fewer people, but very efficient, and every process has been digitalized so that people can spend quality time with the family. So they come to work, they work for 80 hours, they can see the results, they have time for their families, they have time for their social life. That's what we are doing, investing in our human capital, but also investing in digital world.
Thank you, Anna. So we are almost coming to an end, and I know there are a couple of questions that we have not answered. Probably the panelists, you can go to the chat and you can answer a question or two. But as we wrap up, Mr. Wangora, you mentioned the Africa Free Continental Free Trade Area, which is the largest free trade area that promises to be about a $6.7 trillion business or economy. What can we do as leaders to break the barriers that are there in us being able to achieve this kind of business, as you give your closing remarks as well? Okay, so Mr. Wangora has dropped out, but as he comes back, I want to come to you, Mr. Popat. We'll come to you, Amos, in a while. As you give your closing remarks, what barriers have you had to break to build a family business that has lasted 5 decades? We have seen all sorts of issues on our media regarding family businesses. What are those barriers that you have had to break to be able to build that business?
Okay, I think as far as family businesses are concerned, I think the very first thing for a family business is to articulate the values of that family business as fast and as early as possible. So as long as we know what the family wants out of its business, then sustainability becomes more easy. That's very important. The second thing that's very important is changing the governance structure of the family business. If it's reliant only on family exclusively, then it's reliant on the age or the life of 1 or 2 individuals, which is no use to the family. So we need a governance structure that promotes independence from the family. As long as the family is still there, it's a family business. But you need a governance structure that promotes professionalism and moving the business from a typical mom and pop shop to a business that runs independently without, not always, but mostly without critical family members. That's very, very critical for us. The other thing, of course, is to develop really good skill sets. Okay, good skill sets, both for the family and for the organization. The skill sets for the organization are the usual skill sets of having good people, good systems, good technology, etc. But the skill set for the family is the governance skill sets, the monitoring of the business. How do we monitor it? How do we not step on the toes of the professionals that are running your business? Those are very important skill sets, and that connects straight into the values that you've created. So if you're somebody who's going to interfere with a manager doing his job and not empowering that person, then your family business is going to be on a tender hook, and you're going to lose that person. And then, of course, automatically you lose the value in your business. Last and foremostly is a clear strategy. Creating a clear strategy. Where do I want to go with my business? Do I want to go left? Do I want to go right? Or do I want to do everything? Even if it's everything, at least you articulate it and you put in a piece of paper and say, I want to do everything. Anything I get, I do. It's not a good strategy, I can assure you, but because focus is extremely important. So that clear strategy is very important, and sending out a clear message to all the people, okay, and cascading that message down is extremely important to sustain a family business. But this is the same for even professional businesses. All we have to do is we have to make sure that we don't lose the connectivity and the thread from the family to the business. And that thread is the value system that we create.
Thank you, Mr. Popat. We come back to you, Mr. Wangora. So we are saying Africa, most of our African countries have signed the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, forming the largest free trade area, about $6.7 trillion economy. What can we as leaders do to break the barriers that are herein in terms of achieving this great goal?
Thank you, and apologies for an unstable network. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, yes, we can.
Yes, so the African Continental Free Trade Area, as mentioned, is a great opportunity for Africa. Went into effect on the 1st of January. Are we ready? No. Most countries are still not ready. Of course, there's quite a number of areas that we still need to get right. For example, even within the regional economies, just the fact that some countries have not ratified means then that it cannot come into effect. You know, there are negotiations still ongoing on rules of origin, harmonization of tariffs, and so on. So it will be a gradual process. The opportunity is huge, though. What we need to do is prepare ourselves, whether as you know, a trade community, whether in manufacturing, agriculture, is look at how competitive can we make our businesses, so that if as those opportunities come, we can be able to take advantage. Government also needs to invest in facilitating business, looking at what are the pain points that business is suffering from. What is it that makes us uncompetitive, so that we put all that in place. Then information is also crucial. As government, as a people, we need to look for information on the opportunities in other parts. So as these things fall into place, as it comes into place, then we are ready to take advantage. So we are not yet ready. It will be a gradual process. Some of those negotiations across government take quite some time. Of course, but of course, it is an opportunity. Just the fact that that is ratified, it is now in effect. We just need to continue building now, you know, on the gaps that have been there, so that we can take advantage of it. So that said, mine then, just to wrap up, then, you know, is in terms of, you know, making your mark as a leader really, is legacy. What is legacy, and how do I see legacy? And I think a lot of us, then it starts from family, the values that you eventually leave your family with. But as an organization, is culture. And I think that's one thing we have tried to do in Kentrade. When I took over as CEO in 2015. We had quite a toxic environment. And one of the realizations I had was that we are not going to achieve anything without building cohesiveness and changing that culture entirely. And we've largely achieved that. And a lot of this is through you know, just culture change programs, recognizing what everyone does in the organization, making sure that it's acknowledged, building that performance orientation, but making sure it's driven and recognized by the culture you put in place, coming up with values that we all respect and that we all live towards, so that we then make the entire environment a family-oriented environment. Just repeating the words care and trust again within that organization. So I think that's the legacy we need to leave for the organizations that we work for. Of course, I think we talked about succession planning, making sure then that the sustainability, that even if you're not there, the others will be able to take up and continue running with that organization. And of course, then being able to impact the larger organization. What are we doing to give back to society? And the realization that we don't exist. We are all, as institutions, here to play a role in the wider society. I think that has always to be at the back of our minds in whatever we do. But we're not doing it for ourselves, whether we are government or employees of, you know, the various institutions, that we have a bigger goal, you know, for the country and for society in general. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wangora. Anna, back to you. And Africa continues to import a lot of our food. Yet Africa has 60% of arable land. What opportunity are we missing in agriculture? And what can we do so that we can be a net exporter as opposed to importer of food? Hi, Anna.
Thank you, Ada. Hi, actually I lost you guys, but I think I got the question. yes, when you look at Africa, we have all the potential to be the best exporters of food and agricultural products from Africa. But yet it is not like that. It is opposite. We import a lot, and yet we have a lot of land and idle land. What is the problem? I think our problem is the perception, and I have no idea how it started and when it started. When I was growing up in the community that I was living, the perception was that agriculture or farming is the job for the people for poor people, the people, the people who doesn't have class. So it's not a standard kind of job. So agriculture or farming was taken as the things just to cultivate for for home consumption, and not as a business. It was not taken as a business. But on the other hand, like, people were much more comfortable to do the white collar job, even if they earn peanut and they do a lot. It was not an issue as long as it's a white collar job. But then how do we change that narrative? I think it is people like us who have gone to school and have the knowledge and have the exposure, have the ability to change that narrative. It's us to go back to the farms, to go back to the village, to do the proper farming, to do the agribusiness. We take agriculture as business, not as something to do just for the sake of doing it, as business. And I've seen it happening a lot in Tanzania, and it is happening a lot in Africa, Kenya, Uganda. Most of the so-called wasomi, or people who have gone to school, are now back to agriculture. They have gone back to the basics. I remember back in the days when we were in school, we used to read a book, a story, and it says that kama unataka mali utaipata shambani. Like, if you really want wealth, you have to go, you get it from the farm. So we are now back to that. And a lot of people who have gone to school, degree holder, PhD holders, have gone back to the farming. And you see there's a lot of difference, because the way we do farming these days in Tanzania, in East Africa, is more of business. This is a business. It's not just for the sake of getting something to eat, but more of business. And if we continue this speed, in the next 5 years, we'll be far. We'll no longer be importing rice from China or from Brazil or from what we'll be exporting, but also encouraging the industrialization in Africa. By doing that, we will create the market for farmers, because we waste a lot of products along the way. For instance, someone who is doing farming the tomatoes, he can produce a lot of tomatoes, but there's nowhere to take the tomatoes. And they end up just, laying down on the street, because we don't have a market for tomatoes. But now, with the ongoing efforts across Africa, we are trying to industrialize and to add value to our product. It's not just exporting it as raw materials, but we add value in it and export it. So, but if we continue with that effort, we are really going to change the narrative in Africa. And Africa is not going to be the same as it is right now. We're going to change it, and agriculture will be the backbone of our economy. Yeah.
Your closing remarks, Anna. Thank you. Kindly share with us 30 seconds of your closing remarks.
Okay. So what I can say, I think, for us to change this continent, Africa, we really have to invest in our people, and we have to work hard. We have to work hard more than we used to do. We have to think of the future of this continent. We have to be less selfish, thinking of ourselves, but we have to think about the future of this continent, and what can we do to contribute to the future? What can we do to make this Africa the Africa that we wanted to live in? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Popat, I'm not sure you gave us your closing remarks. You can have 30 seconds of your closing remarks.
I thought I did, but I'll just make a quick summary of what a good leader should be doing. I think there's somebody should switch off. I think the first thing for a good leader is get a good education, as good an education as possible, and continue to educate yourselves right through your life. I think articulate your values right up front so that you know what you stand for. Have patience, because nothing happens in a day. Everything takes time, and patience is a virtue that is really worth a lot. Give back, and give back often. Anytime you're successful, give back, because that is contributing to further success. Make sure any business that you're in or any organization you have has extremely good governance. Governance is very critical for successful businesses to go forward and for sustainability. Promote work-life balances in your organizations. If people are happy at home, they will be happy at the office. This is critical for us. What we do is we push people to the limit and then they burn out. That's no good for nobody. Use the best technology that you can afford. Using technology is really, really important today. And we know without technology, COVID would have been a nightmare for all of us. Use world-class financial and accounting systems and controls. Any business, any organization without proper control will die for sure. If you have a bucket and you have many holes in it and you're putting water inside, as long as it's leaking, you will not maintain that water. So make sure you seal all the holes so that whatever you make, any revenue you create, you keep more of it if you do that. Hold people accountable. We are the easiest not holding people, particularly our political leaders. We are not holding them accountable. When they do bad things, we say nothing. We need to articulate and we need to be verbal about it and we need to be vocal about it. If they don't do good things, don't let them get away with it. That is very, very important. And lastly, have the highest ethical standards that you can maintain in your organization. That's my closing remarks.
Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you very, very much to Mr. Wangora, to Anna, and Mr. Popat for your time this afternoon. We have learned. Thank you to the participants. It's been quite an engaging afternoon, and I want to believe that there's a lot that we have taken out of this, and we are going to make our mark as leaders in 2021 and going forward. And so I want us to appreciate our panelists. We have our virtual way of appreciating them. Clap your hands. I want to believe we can be able to do that, or you just raise your hand and just say, well done, yeah? Well done. Okay, so as we come to almost the end, Strathmore Business School, and I want to take this opportunity, as Dr. Jenga mentioned, to really appreciate Shelly or Shaija Sharma and the entire team from the marketing team have worked very hard to come up with an executive magazine for the business school. And this will be an opportunity for us to serve society. Our mission as an institution, the larger Strathmore University, is to serve society. And so we are looking at this magazine being able to create a vehicle, to be a vehicle for us to serve society through thought leadership from our students, from our staff, from our faculty. And it's also an opportunity for us to be able to share what has been going on, the events, the programs, the things that are going on, like this particular webinar. Of course, it will be in the next issue, not in this one, but it's an opportunity for us to be able to interact with the business school. And because you came for this webinar, you're going to be the first to receive a copy of this particular magazine. And so I want to share my screen just for you to see what the magazine is about, and then you can be able to see how it looks like. So just give me a second and I will do that. Okay, there it is. So this is the magazine that we are launching today. It's called the Strathmore Executive, being able to cover what is running in the business school and thought leadership. There's a lot of knowledge that has been shared here by our faculty, showcasing projects, grants that we are working on. And it's something that I encourage you to read. That is Dr. Jenga giving the welcome. We have the editorial team led by Shelly. We call her Shelly. And there's a lot that is in this magazine. It also gives you an opportunity as a business leader, in case you'd like to advertise in this magazine, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be able to share with you what the rates are in case you'd like to advertise, but it's a very great learning tool. On the page that I am in, it showcases our partnerships, and we have many partnerships and memberships across the world to enable us to run with the others. You know, there's that African proverb that says, if you want to go far, go alone. But if you want to go farthest, then go with others. And so we are working with others in order to achieve our dream of serving society across the world. So this is the magazine. We welcome you. It will be shared with you on your emails that you have provided for us. So we welcome you to read and to be able to see what is there. So thank you so much, Sherry and the team. And we look forward to many, many more that we will get in the process. So to this end, I would like to welcome Dr. Jenga to share his closing remarks. And as he does that, we will have the team share with us the feedback forms, a link on the chat to enable you give us your feedback. You're able to share the topics that you'd like us to cover next time. We'll continue having the Breaking Barriers webinar series throughout the year, and we welcome you to join. I believe the next one that we'll be hosting is on International Women's Day on 8th March, and we welcome you. You'll be getting those details in your emails as well as in the social media platforms. So welcome, Dr. Jenga, to give your closing remarks.
The closing remarks have been made. So I'm wondering what I will add to the beautiful pot of ideas that have come from here and from people who are very seasoned. Okay, I will add one little thing. And I was thinking about it yesterday. And that is that each one of us here is a special gift to our community, to our society. If you respond to all those things that have been told to you, if you respond to your personal formation, if you respond to your capacity to change, to feel better about the society you are serving, to make an effort to overcome your weaknesses, to not give in to the bad ideas that you may have fallen into. Many times you will come across yourself and sometimes you'll feel shy of what you see, or sometimes shamefulness. Don't give up, because the society will be lesser because you gave up. If the society will be greater, it's because you can say, well, from now on, let me be a positive change to society by being a positive change to myself. What will help you a lot? Speaking to good people, speaking to wise people, asking humble but courageous questions about yourself. Go to good people who will enable you see yourself as you are. Don't be the driver of your own boat and be the mechanic of your own boat and be the doctor of your own boat. Always ask for help. And it's not late for you to change. But I just want to tell you this, that we will be lesser if you don't change. Because your gift, only you can give that gift. And let no one lie to you. Only you can give that gift, whatever it is, wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jenga. Only you can give your gift. So let's go and give our gifts to make a better world, to make a better Africa, to make better nations in which we come from. So I want to take this opportunity and to say thank you to all the participants. Thank you for staying through. We really appreciate. We appreciate your feedback. Continue to give us feedback. I want to appreciate our panelists, Mr. Wangora, Mr. Popat, and Anna. Thank you so much for your time. I want to thank the technical team that has put a lot of work behind this to make it happen. That is Nancy, Caroline, we have Gift, I also want to thank the Strathmore Executive team. That is Shelley, Joseph, Michael, Nyabaide, as well as Juliet. I really appreciate you, and we say thank you and God bless you. So enjoy your afternoon and looking forward to hosting you many more times throughout this year. Asante sana. Kwaheri.